Welcome to the Joy of Cruising podcast with your host, award-winning author Paul C. Thornton, a weekly conversation with the amazing cruisers featured in the Joy of Cruising books, comprised of The Joy of Cruising, Cruising Interrupted, new release, The Joy of Cruising Again, as well as other fun, informative global cruise personalities. It's the next best thing to cruising, hearing about cruising from the unique and diverse perspectives of Paul's amazing guests. If you hear about a cruise that interests you, book it at www.thejoyofacation.com or enter to win a free cruise for two. Again, www.thejoyofacation.com. We really appreciate your feedback, so leave us a text. Paul can't reply, but he may read your text on the air.
Hello, passionate cruisers. This is Paul. I am delighted to welcome back to the Joy of Cruising podcast Ilana of Life Well Cruise. Ilana is one of my best friends in the cruising blogosphere, having been featured in my second cruise book, Cruising Interrupted, and on the podcast twice before. Life Well Cruise was the second episode ever of the Joy of Cruising podcast, episode 2, and Life Well Cruise was also on episode 95. Let me be clear, all my guests are great. However, I think I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that both of Ilana's episodes are firmly entrenched in the top 5 The Joy of Cruising podcast episodes of all time. That really should come as little surprise, as Life Well Cruise is in the top 5 of cruise YouTube channels, along with a massive presence on Instagram and Facebook. I am proud to welcome back one of the most influential cruise brands in the world. I am especially eager to hear Ilana's thoughts on her first river cruise. Welcome back, Ilana, to the Joy of Cruising podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with you.
So how you doing?
I am doing great. We've been home now for a couple of weeks since our last cruise. I know we're going to be talking about it. But yeah, so we're enjoying being home a little while. We were traveling quite a lot during the summer, but all good things.
Good. How's the family?
The family is good. Actually, my older son, that people don't know as much, but Julian. So my older son and his girlfriend just went off to Portugal today. They're doing a little land trip. So they left actually last night. So they're doing that. Ethan is doing well. All is good. And Frank is doing well. He's editing as we speak for a video that should go out tomorrow. So we're all keeping busy.
I noticed Ethan seems to be going on all your cruises now.
Not all of them, but
No, not really. Okay.
yeah, no, not all of them. But yeah, but definitely he does a lot of them because, first of all, he likes to travel. So, why not? But at the same time, he actually works with us in our business. So he writes, some of the articles. So he'll write, like, for instance, like a younger person's perspective as an example of the river cruise. So he wrote an article about that. He's super helpful with a lot of our short form content. So he actually takes care of that. So it is very handy to have an extra hand while we're on the cruise, an extra person filming. And of course, he does do some of the long form filming as well. But yeah, so he was on a couple of our cruises. He wasn't on our Carnival cruise that we did. So he probably is on like 75% of them. But we figure if we all enjoy each other's company and we can travel, why not?
Very good. Very good. Before we discuss what's been up with you and Life Well Cruise since you were last here, tell our listeners about yourself, where you're from, where you live, professional background, anything you would like to share.
So I live in Montreal, Canada. I know not everybody knows I'm Canadian, but I am. And now, gosh, I have been doing this Life Well Cruise. I started the blog in 2018 and it kind of grew. And now we've been doing the YouTube channel since, I guess, 2019. So it's been a little while now. And of course, it's grown more since the pandemic. In terms of my background, I used to be an early childhood educator. So that's where my education is. And I loved doing that job. But I also worked part-time as a travel agent selling cruises for a local company. And that was a lot of fun. And that gave me a few perks. And I used to put that little money that I made, that extra side hustle money, into an account to go on cruises with my family. So that's kind of where a little bit of my knowledge and passion and enjoyment for this came from.
I remember when you were doing the part-time stunt with the travel agent. Are you still doing anything like that?
No, not at all. Gosh, I think it was in 2022. Then I stopped doing it. I really wasn't doing it much. Even at that point, I did it very, very part-time. I would always say, like, to me, travel agents are amazing, but there is so much work that people do for most of the time, not very much money. But I think a lot of people do it because they love to travel themselves and they're helpful people. So they love to research and help other people. So kudos to them. But I have a belief that you cannot do everything exceptionally well at the same time. So I felt that I wanted to focus on the content creation and let other people who are super passionate about helping people individually do that.
hmm How's the LifeWell Cruise brand going? Anything new?
I don't know. I think it's just going well. We're continuing to grow, both as a channel and on social media, and we just kind of continue to do that. So everything is same as usual, but good, growing. I think that now we're over 440,000 subscribers, which is awesome. And every month we have about 2 million long form video views. So I'm always very happy to know how many people watch our videos. And my intention is always just to continue to try to make good videos that are helpful, work with brands that we think are also, aligned with our audience. And it's been good. There are a lot worse ways to make a living.
Well, I started to say you started off kind of being very modest when I asked how's the cruise brand growing, and then you added, how many subscribers and how many listeners. Most of you already know this. Believe me, LifeWell Cruise is an absolute juggernaut in the cruise world. I mean, I told you some of it in the intro, but even that wasn't enough. There's few brands that are more powerful than worldwide in the cruising world than LifeWell Cruise. So,
Oh my goodness, those are big things to say, but
well,
thank you though,
you
Paul.
can't deny it. It's all true. So,
Yeah, gosh, and I
uh,
think, Paul, that we know each other since we were both starting out. So it's kind of cool that
yeah, I've watched your growth with amazement, a little envy, but yeah, you
no,
you
and
you are
you
you are
look.
really doing it.
You are very sweet, but look at also what you've done from the time that you started to write that very first book. And when we went through that pandemic, and, I think we both wondered, what's going to happen.
Don't even bring up the pandemic.
No, it's all good. It's all good, at least in cruising, right?
So let's talk about our main topic for today. AmaWaterways, Magna. That was your first river cruise. And my first river cruise also took place on AmaWaterways, a different vessel, Ama Christina. That was last year. But we're here to talk about you. So, first of all, give us the itinerary of the river cruise.
Okay. So yeah, it was our first river cruise, and Ama Magna was quite a ship. So this started off in Vilshofen, and I know it's pronounced actually with like an F sound, so like Vilshofen, but I'm never going to pronounce it properly. So, it is what it is. But that's in Germany. Almost 2 hours of time distance by bus or by car from Munich. So we actually flew into Munich, and then our cruise started off in this small town called Vilshofen. Really, really pretty, picturesque little town. And then it went to Passau, Germany. And these are what I can remember. So Passau, it went to a town called Meltz. It went to Linz, and from there we went to Salzburg because we did that as a day trip. That was so amazing. It went to Krems, and I think some people might know that as Dürnstein, which is also very close by where the Dürnstein Castle is. And then we also went to Grein. We went to Vienna. We went to Bratislava, and we went to Budapest, which is where our cruise ended.
Wow, how many days?
That was 7 days. Could you imagine? We went to all those places in 7 days.
Yeah, that was a jam-packed itinerary.
It was.
Yeah, I was wasn't I can't I was wasn't didn't have that many port
No,
stops.
what river did you guys do?
Uh, the southern France was that.
Oh, okay. Provence?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. In fact, the itinerary was called Colors of Provence.
We'll be right back.
Do you have a dream car? Mine is the Lucid Air. Are you intrigued by electric vehicles? The Lucid Air EV has been called the best driving car in the world. And the Lucid Air Sapphire is certifiably the fastest production car in the world. Listen to Lucid Driver Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts or at luciddriver.buzzsprout.com.
Okay. Oh, that would be so nice. Wow. Oh, I'm like thinking now about other river cruises because we liked it so much. And I remember you told me before we started chatting, but you told me that you loved your river cruise too.
Yeah, yeah, I really did. I first of all, I quickly decided that I want to do another river cruise. So that certainly is in the not too distant future. I should try another line, but I'm really partial to AmaWaterways because Ama they have a special set of river cruises called Soulful Expressions. So they take
Oh,
a
wow.
a itinerary that they offer all the time. So they offer one called Colors of
Uh-huh.
Provence, and you can go on that and it's not a Soulful Expressions cruise, but ours was a Soulful Expressions cruise. And what it does is for the places that you go, uh, it focuses on Black history. So when we went,
Very
for
nice.
instance, in southern France, at one of the stops, and I can't remember which, so I don't want to be wrong, but at one of the stops, there was like a cemetery that was only used for Black soldiers who fought for France. And then we went
Wow.
to a Black art gallery in was it Avenue? I don't want to pick the spots we stopped at. I don't want to get anything wrong, so I can't remember where the
Sure.
where this particular Black art gallery was. And then even when we ended the trip with an excursion to Paris, and in Paris we went
Mm-hmm.
on two different Black history tours because Paris has a long and deep relationship with a lot of Black entertainers, jazz musicians. Many of them lived there,
Yeah.
because it was more welcoming than the U.S. at the time. So it's the same itinerary, but there are a few things, and even in the cuisine, some. Yeah, we had a soul food.
Wow.
We had a Juneteenth meal. So it's just a side,
Wow.
a niche product of AmaWaterways, just like they do like wine cruise. They have very specialized. It's a
Yes.
specialized cruise, and Yeah, and so
That is
I
very
know,
interesting and great cultural experience.
even though I want to
Wow.
try another river cruise line, I'm really sold on Soulful Expressions. So I want to do another, and they don't just go to France. So they have a Soulful Expressions cruise to Egypt, Soulful Expressions cruise to Colombia. So places where they go, they just sort of focus on the Black history of that region, and you would think that most of these cruises are the passengers are mostly Black. Mine certainly was, because mine was a full ship charter done by a company that kind of specializes in high-end full ship charters. So, and it was all Black, and they brought their own DJ, jazz musician, comedian, all that. But on other Soulful Expressions cruises, there are actually more non-Black than there are Black. So it could be people who are historians, uh, ally, for whatever reason, they wanted to partake in a Soulful Expressions experience. So yeah.
Well, that's
So
wonderful to
so
know.
so I suspect my next AmaWaterways cruise will be a Soulful Expressions cruise. But let's get back to your AmaWaterways cruise, because this is about you. So walk us through every inch of Ama Magna. And now let me tell the listeners, or you can tell the listeners better than I can. Ama Magna is a special version of a river cruise ship because it's a double wide. So explain, Alana, what that means.
Yeah, so it was so interesting because one of the things that I was a little bit worried about, being honest, as somebody who's been ocean cruising for years, um, we're used to the mega ships and we're used to even the medium-sized ships that are still really large, right? So I wasn't sure if we go on a river cruise, am I going to find it too small? That kind of thing. And especially as there's less passengers, although of course I knew there's also some really positive things, about that. But Amma Magna is really interesting because it is a double wide river cruise ship, and it can only, my understanding is that it can only go in certain rivers. So, like the section of the Danube River that we were in, it can go along that section, but it was really nice because it meant that the sun deck was very spacious. There was enough room for a pickleball court, a pool and a hot tub. Now, of course, these weren't huge, but I'll tell you, it was not so small either. Lots of space for lounging, lots of space to really spread out. So you never felt on top of other people, which was really pleasant. There were also a total of four different restaurants. So although the main restaurant, the main dining room was really the largest and was where we ate most often. But there was a really nice little bistro at the front of the ship that served a light breakfast, some lunch, and also some dinner. So that made it an alternative for people who wanted something that was, still good. Casual as well as a little bit elevated in the evening time, but a choice and a different location. And then they also had a chef's table meal that was, I don't know, would it be the best meal I've had on a cruise? I'm not sure. If it wasn't the best meal, it was pretty close to it. It was really good. Really amazing. And they have as well Jimmy's, which is sort of like family style service and just a little bit of a different atmosphere. So really nice. And that's the ship itself. Even they have a wellness center or a gym. So a lot of nice amenities for guests.
What did you have? Three decks?
Three passenger decks plus the sun deck. So I guess a total of four.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, four decks. That's what we had. We had the three passenger decks, and then is that what they call it? The sun deck with the pool.
The sun deck or the top deck. And it's funny because I thought that would feel small, but it actually felt spacious and it kind of felt like a little bit of a pleasure to walk from our cabin. And, really it was like I'm walking like 45 seconds to get to the dining room. It was kind of nice, you know, uh, to go up to the top deck. It was never far. It was kind of pleasant. And one of the things that surprised me, Paul, um, it was going on and off the cruise ship. When you've got an excursion or you just want to head into port, whatever you do, the way it was so easy to get off the cruise ship. No lineups. Some of the time we were checking ourselves out and in with our cruise card. So just not the same kind of structure and process that there is on large cruise ships. And even on embarkation day, we had our luggage and, of course, we tagged our luggage, did all the things that we normally would do. But we gave our luggage over. And then by the time we went into the cruise ship and we checked in at the front desk, which I would say felt more like checking into a hotel, of course, more pleasant. But by the time we were finished with that, our luggage was already at our cabin. So that might have been 10 minutes. It really pleasant.
Now, how many, what was the capacity and how many did you have on your sailing?
Yeah. So the capacity was about 190. It might be 196, but anyway, about 190. But we were told 164 people on our cruise ship. So very spacious and, with 160 people. One of the things that did surprise me also, and, like Frank and Ethan, was that, even with that amount of people, of course, there were some people that we spoke to quite regularly and we saw quite regularly and we got to know a little bit more. But the last morning of our cruise, we're having breakfast and there was a table of 4 next to us. And I thought, I have never met them before. So I thought it was funny how you could be on a ship with that many people and still have enough space between you that some people you just haven't met, at the end of 7 days.
Yeah, we were on a single wide, and capacity I think was 155.
Okay.
And like I said, it was a full ship charter, but maybe a little over 100 passengers, and then as I said, that the group who chartered it, they're called Friends of Festival at Sea, and they've actually been on the show.
Very nice.
Yeah, they brought quite a few members of their staff, and it was a wonderful, wonderful time. Talk about, you did mention the eating venues.
Mhm.
Talk about the food. Well, you did say that the
The
chef's table was one of the best you ever had. Talk about the food in general.
Yeah, the food in general was just very good. Breakfast they had a menu with about, I think maybe 7 or 8 regular items. Like one of the ones that I liked the best I think it was called avocado tartine. But anyway, it's basically like a poached egg on like avocado toast. That was really good. I would have it a lot. There's like bagels and smoked salmon. There were omelets, eggs Benedict, crepes and pancakes and that kind of thing. So a choice of that could be served to you. And then they also had a buffet with fruits and with smoked fish and with charcuterie and cheeses and, cottage cheese and all sorts of things, as well as a few hot dishes, as well. So that was nice for breakfast. Lunch, they had a pretty nice menu of both casual foods, including like hamburgers and pizzas to, tuna melts I had one day to some Indian food, variety of food. Evening in particular, I really liked the food. We had lamb, like sort of a rack of lamb one evening. There was always steak. I had salmon that was really nice with a nice hollandaise sauce that tasted like a little bit of a hint of curry. Very, very nice. Presentation was nice. I would say that the portions are not super big. It doesn't bother me. I think that it's very nice because you always have an appetizer and, a little bit of bread and sometimes even some table foods to share. So to me, it never felt like there wasn't enough food. But I would say that their portions are not super large. So, but I would assume that you could ask for more if you wanted to, and that wouldn't be a problem.
In our main dining room, for I guess that's what you call it, they always had, and I'm wondering, did they have this on Magna? They always had up at the front of the main dining room like a cheese station,
They did. Isn't
with,
that nice?
olives and cheeses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they did. They had that. And yeah, I forgot to mention that. I think that it took us a few days to discover it. But they had it. Oh, and the other thing we noticed, and also it took us a couple of days to figure it out, but is the pastries that they have, even the small pastries in the morning time. We were wondering, we're like, do they make them on the ship or do they have maybe like local bakeries that they're getting it from? Either way, really, really nice. Like in contrast to, let's face it, when you do ocean cruising, it's no complaint about the food at all on, some of the big ships. But when you're going into a buffet and they're serving 3,000 people, you're not going to have the same quality as you do when they're serving, 100 to 200 people, right? So, you know, that was noticeable, of course.
Now, at your various port stops, did you ever have local either lecturers or entertainers or whatever come aboard? We had that occasionally.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I do know the first night in evening, I should say, or yeah, early evening, we actually had an Oktoberfest on what I would consider the dock. I don't know if it's called the dock, but basically right where the ship is docking, there was an area where a tent was set up and they had this Oktoberfest celebration and you had dancers, local dancers, you had beer that they gave you, pretzels, and there was like contests and games.
Oh, that sounds nice.
So that was really fun. So I guess that would be an equivalent, but they weren't on the ship. It was next to the ship. But that was really, really fun. And it started off the cruise, in a great way. As a matter of fact, you asked about Ethan, and Ethan did the beer holding competition. He did not win. but but
The beer holding competition. How did that work?
so basically they asked for two volunteers, or maybe they chose people. I don't know how it worked, but anyway, two guys from the cruise. Oh, and then they had somebody who was local. So the local person, spoiler alert, won. And, and basically they give each person sort of a punt, not, I don't know, it must be like a liter of beer. It is like those big pitchers. And they have to hold it straight out. And the person who holds it the longest actually sort of wins the contest. But there does seem to be like a technique to holding it long, like in how you're holding it. In any case, it's all for fun. So that was good. On our ship, we had a really nice duo who handled a lot of the entertainment. And they would do everything from, singing to playing music to doing some of the sort of workshops, arts and things like that, and a little bit of the trivia, even a little bit of DJing. So they did that. And oh, what we did have one night is in Vienna. This was optional though. And there was an additional cost to this because just for anybody listening who is wondering, with AmaWaterways, your excursions are included. And one of the things that I liked is you had a choice of 3 to 4 different excursions in each port. So, there was usually something that you'd find interesting. Not everything was a walking tour. They had a variety of things from bike tours to hikes to, of course, also really interesting walking tours and also like gentle walking tours too for people who walk a little bit more slowly, or need a little bit of help in terms of having some transportation. That was also available. Excuse me. So in Vienna, we went over and we did a concert. This was an additional cost for the concert, but we decided to do it because we thought, well, we're only there at this particular time and maybe this is really going to be interesting. So it was just pretty nice to do this, to go to this concert. And then when we came back from the concert, we had a buffet that they set up for us in al fresco. So basically that bistro area with goulash and sausages and some little, little sandwiches and that kind of thing. And apparently that's traditional. After people go to concerts in Vienna, they would go and they would all, meet and have these sort of late night snacks like this. So that was pretty cool that they supplied that on the ship.
Yeah, AMA has a really nice excursion program.
Yeah.
In fact, I think at maybe one stop or a couple of stops, we did two excursions in one day.
Yeah.
And I guess that's possible on a mainstream ship, but I've never done it on a mainstream ship. But I definitely did do it on the river cruise.
Yeah.
What excursion stood out for you?
So I think probably our favorite excursion, or one of our favorites anyway, was the Salzburg excursion. And that was, I know not everybody did that one. There was another town that you could go to that was a little bit closer, and there was also something even closer. So not everybody did Salzburg. That was about 2 hours away by bus. But we did that because we thought, again, we're in this area, and Frank's father was born and lived in the Salzburg area. So we really wanted to go to
Oh,
Salzburg.
wonderful. Now, Salzburg, help me out. I skipped geography in school.
It's in Austria.
Salzburg is Austria.
Yes.
I was going to say that.
Oh,
I wanted
I'm
to get it right.
sorry, Paul.
Oh, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. I thought it was Austria. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people might know Salzburg from The Sound of Music. So, if
Okay.
the hills are alive with the sound of music. So anyway, so I think for North Americans,
I'll sing a couple of more bars of that, Alana.
you're- oh, that's for another show. Yeah, but it was so pretty. And, obviously there's a lot of history there. I will say a lot of the places that we went to, one of the things that we did is we tried to find some of the Jewish history that was, obviously it's a sad history in a lot of the places. That's a reality of the places in World War II and the Holocaust. But we feel like it's important to remember, and it's important to see how these different places are commemorating. So when we were in Salzburg, we found something called stumbling blocks, which are basically, it's a little bit sad. I will say what it is these stumbling blocks look like they're sort of gold bricks that are inset into the cobblestone. And they have on it, not an art exhibition, that's the wrong word, but basically starting about 20 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, there is somebody or a group that basically decided to make these stumbling stones as a commemoration to, it's basically to commemorate the person who lived in that building, in that house, the Jewish person who lived there, their last day in the house. And so the date of the last day, the day that they were taken, basically from the home to go to a camp, as an example, and then their date of death. So it is sad. But the idea, though, is that as you're walking, you come across it and you stumble across it. And I think nowadays, if some people are like me, they may take a picture of it and they might go, okay, what is this? And then you look it up on ChatGPT or Google, and then you find out. So it gives you a window into the history. And it's another way that people and the history of what happened is not forgotten. So in any case, we did that in Salzburg, along with seeing beautiful places. We saw the Salzburg Fortress. We had schnitzel, which we liked. So we had schnitzel. We had a traditional dessert that they have in Salzburg. It was all very wonderful. And then another place that we also enjoyed is Vienna. Vienna, we did a walking tour with AmaWaterways. And then after the tour, what we did is we decided to go to the Jewish History Museum. So we went to that. That was quite interesting. And we went shopping in Vienna. And again, we stopped for some schnitzel, and we bought some souvenirs in Austria. That was a lot of fun. Even going to Vienna and going into the supermarkets. That's one of the things that I like to do sometimes in the ports. So that was enjoyable. We bought some of the cookies that are quite well known in Vienna called Manor. And we brought those home, and we brought some different gummy bears home for, nieces and nephews. So that was also very enjoyable.
Well, it sounds like your first river cruise was a wonderful experience. Did you do any in conjunction with the cruise? I know Amma has these city stays that you can do in conjunction. Did you have any city stays added on at the beginning or the end of your cruise?
So we didn't, but I do know some people did that we had met. They loved it. They did Prague before the cruise. So a lot of people loved that, or they stayed on with the cruise manager and they toured Budapest for a day or two after. What we did is we decided we flew in on our own. So we flew into Munich 2 days before, and we explored Munich independently. And that was very enjoyable. We liked it. And then in Budapest as well, or Budapest, it's hard for me to pronounce all of the words the way they're supposed to be pronounced. But yeah, but Budapest also really interesting. So we stayed one night. And one of the nice things about our itinerary is it ended in Budapest, but we had one whole day that we were on the ship. And as we were sailing into Budapest, you could see all of the buildings, the history on the right-hand side, which was the side of Buda, and the other side, which is Pest, which I didn't know that Budapest is actually like two cities that combine like that. So that was interesting. Really incredible history, even up until recently, right? So our cruise manager, John, did an excellent job pointing out some of the things that we'd want to see and to know about. And then they had a lovely barbecue lunch that we all enjoyed with this incredible city all around us. So we had lunch, and then after that, we did a tour, which was a tour of Buda. So because we knew we were going to be staying an extra day, we saved Pest to visit on our own while we were on land, and we visited Buda, and all of the palaces and buildings and everything. And even though obviously because of World War II, a lot of them were at least partially destroyed, it's quite beautiful. They've rebuilt, and it really is something. And the local people the guides were really quite good too, in explaining the history and about the people now. So that was very interesting too.
You know what? Well, before we move off of the Amma Magna, one thing I forgot to ask you,
Mhm.
say something about your accommodations.
Oh, okay. So, Frank and I had, I can't remember the name of this balcony in particular, but basically we had a balcony that I do have a video about this river cruise where I share the details, and of course people can see a visual of the cruise too. And I do name the type of balcony in that video, but in any case, it was a balcony. It was 201, if I'm not mistaken, though. Very nice. Like a couch, a little table or a desk, I should say. Great storage, queen size bed, balcony. And honestly, it was more spacious than I would have expected. Beautiful bathroom, nice and spacious. And then Ethan had on deck one, he had the swan view. I think a lot of people call them basically the high up river views. So you have the two small windows. And so he had that. So he had his own solo room, if you want. And then we were right above him.
So, what's the final verdict on your first river cruise?
Oh, we loved it. Really loved it. I mean, it's funny because I had some people who said, well, if you liked river cruising so much, does that mean you're never going on an ocean cruise again? And I always think that's so silly. There doesn't need to be only one thing that you can enjoy,
Sure.
right? So for the travel experience, we absolutely loved it. And we loved, the service as well and the overall experience. Very enjoyable. So I would 100% do it again. but you know what? It was busy. It was like a travel experience. So it doesn't mean that I wouldn't also, and I won't do Caribbean cruises or Mediterranean cruises to visit different place and do large ship cruising for when you want that style of vacation. But it definitely opened my eyes to small ship cruising and how enjoyable that can be, and even a more quiet, luxurious side of cruising. Because not to say that AmaWaterways is luxury in a snotty, frou-frou, stick your nose up kind of way. Because some people, I think, misconstrue it that way. Everything was just ease and good quality and good service. So I would say that's definitely won me over. And I think you said you would do another river cruise too.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And
Yeah.
yeah, in fact, I was going to ask you. Now, this was your first river cruise. Is this your
Hmm.
first time on a small ship? Like when I say small,
Yes.
less than 1,000?
Yeah. The smallest ship I think that I've ever been on is probably in the range of about 2,000 passengers. So probably something in the range of 88,000 tons. I'm thinking like Celebrity Summit. I don't know how big that was, but Celebrity Summit, Holland America, I think the Koningsdam and the Rotterdam are around 90,000 tons, more or less. So Virgin Voyages also, somewhere around that. So I think that that size, which to me I consider medium size nowadays, that's the smallest that I've ever been
Yeah,
on.
besides the river cruise, earlier this year, we went on another small ship, nowhere near as small as a river cruise, but we went on Explorer Journeys. So there was
Oh, I've been wondering. Yeah.
yeah, there was about 650 on board when we went on Explorer. The capacity is like 950, but they claim they will never sail that capacity. But that's what it is at capacity. And in reviews I've read, they typically do around 750 at the most. But mine was 650, and it was. I can get used to small ship cruising, I tell you, because between both the river cruise and then Explorer, they were two of the best experiences I've ever had.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I can understand that. It's interesting because something that, and again, this is not anything against big ship cruising. There's, pros and cons to everything, but um, some of the things that like some people have asked about is what do I think of the price point? And just, to let people know, AmaWaterways hosted us on this cruise. But of course, I've looked up pricing just like a lot of people. So I'm aware of generally what the pricing is. But the way I see it now is that the price point looks higher than a 7 day Caribbean cruise as an example. And obviously it depends on the itinerary, etc. There are always and dates always going to be some cruises that are priced more or less for a variety of reasons. But when you start looking at not just the entry price, but what's included and what is of value to you, I think for a lot of people, if they looked at it, they might say, huh, when I start to add up on a 7 day ocean cruise, and if I'm getting, assuming, let's say it's a balcony cabin, and if I'm getting with the balcony cabin, maybe I'm upgrading to specialty dining packages and I'm upgrading to drink packages and I'm paying for my Wi-Fi and I'm buying all of my excursions. And, excursions can be 150 to $300 plus in some cruise ports of call. I do think that river cruises can be, for the quality, a good value. And at the very least, it might be something that, to plan for, that you do even, one cruise every 2 years if you really want to do that, and skip a year or two of a Caribbean cruise. And I'm not saying people should do that if they really want to do those Caribbean cruises or if this isn't a value to them. But if they do want to, I just think that's a strategy.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, really good value. I mean, you got all your excursions, all your gratuities, Wi-Fi, specialty dining equivalent food. I know on ours we had like happy hour every day,
Yeah.
and cocktails were included during happy hour, but wine and beer was available at every meal. Um, so,
Yes.
so yeah, it was the most expensive cruise we had taken to that point. But then when you dial everything in, as you point out, it was a great value.
Yeah, that's it. And of course, it depends what everybody wants. And I know you and I are talking specifically about AmaWaterways, but of course, depending on the river cruise line, some are going to include different things just a little bit. So, and some are at a higher price point and some are at a lower price point. So I think it's worth exploring, though, for anybody who wants that travel experience and that small ship, cruising. And a river is a little bit different than an ocean, but still enjoyable.
Last question on the river cruise. This I
Yep.
found this fascinating for me. How about going through the locks?
That was interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it
yeah.
was interesting.
Mechanical marvels.
Yes, and the amount of people, at least when we went through the locks during the day, that are just watching. You're watching what's going on, and sometimes you're staying still for a long time, but you're still watching.
Yeah, I was pretty fascinated about that. So,
Yeah.
so I suspect you have done quite a bit of cruising since we last spoke over a year and a half ago. Just
I
give.
can't believe it's been so long,
Oh
though, Paul. I
yeah,
didn't even
yeah.
realize it's been so long. So yes, we have.
Yep, yep. So give us the highlights of some of your major cruises in the last year or so.
Okay. So one of the cruises that we did that was very enjoyable was we did Norway. I guess late June or so last year. We did that with Holland America on Rotterdam. That was incredible scenery, incredible cruise. Really, really enjoyed that. And the culture's so different in Norway. I don't know why. I was expecting because it looks, at least when you look at videos or pictures, it has some similarities to Alaska. So I was expecting it to feel like that. And I've been to Europe before. So I don't know why. I just thought it would be like kind of like Alaska, but over there. But it wasn't. It was a very different culture, and we went into Amsterdam. We enjoyed the Dutch culture, and yeah, it was a really nice cruise. We also more recently we went to Celebration Key, which is Carnival's new exclusive destination. So we were on the Carnival Vista on the first ship with passengers that was heading to Celebration Key. So that was pretty cool because Carnival president Christine Duffy was on the ship and John Heald, and there were a lot of people on the ship. So many people were so excited about the island. And I know there's been a little bit of controversy about the island, but it really is very beautiful. And for the Caribbean, I think a lot of people are going to enjoy it. Oh, and we did.
And what is?
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
What is the controversy? The only thing I've heard, I had a guest who went to the new private island, and the only thing they said was there's a bee problem, a lot of bees,
Oh, okay. Oh,
and Carnival's going to try to address that. But you mentioned controversy.
okay. Yeah. So not that. Actually, that is something. That's one thing that annoys me a little bit. Not the bee problem, but that when they did have a bee problem, I think for a couple of days, and it was genuinely a problem. But sometimes, like I had seen, I think some videos or social media things about like, oh, Carnival's like new island is terrible and they've got a bee problem. Well, they had a bee problem for a couple of days. I guess sprayed or whatever they did, and they no longer have a bee problem. So I always like think about if somebody is going to that place, they want to feel like they have information that can help them to know what is there, what's going to cost them extra if there is anything, what is included, what they can expect so that they can plan their day. But, like not to be afraid of things that are not, realistically going to affect their cruise, even if it affected somebody else's cruise on day 2 or 3 that the island was open or the destination. So yeah, so the controversy is that it is an exclusive destination, according to Carnival. and not a private island. So while it belongs to Carnival, this is in partnership with Freeport. And so one of the differences for Carnival's Celebration Key is the fact that you don't have like all-inclusive food the way you would have at, as an example, Perfect Day at Coco Cay or Great Stirrup Cay from or Key from NCL or Princess Cays, which are all like they're all good islands, right? And they usually have like this barbecue, and in some cases they have more food than that. So Celebration Key, they have several food kiosks, kind of like food trucks. And these are local people that are working in it and different food from on the ship. So you can have, Philly cheesesteak, but you can also have fish tacos. There's, different kiosks. What Carnival gives everybody is vouchers for one free meal. So like basically a main dish and a dessert. So it's not unlimited. You know, so while I agree it would be really nice to have an island where all the food is included. That's just the reality. It's not there. So if you want to have anything more than that, then you would have to pay additionally for that. And there are some options that you could have. There's an adult only space, and if you want to, you can buy like an entry there, and that can include the food, which is a little bit more upscale food, and that can include also drinks. So I think a lot of people are doing that adult only space that includes the drinks. I think that's a good value. I actually hope they don't hear me saying that because then they might raise the prices. But I think if you're somebody who has onboard credit anyway, and sometimes people do, or if you would have booked an excursion somewhere else, I actually think that it is worth it. So anyway, that's a little bit of the controversy of the private island. But I do know from people that at the same time they are enjoying it. The pools are all included. They are beautiful. They're and the beaches are beautiful too. So, or otherwise, stay on the ship and have an almost empty ship while everybody else gets off.
I haven't been there, but I do have a problem with, if I understand correctly, you have a drink package on the ship. It doesn't mean anything on the private island.
Yes, you're right. And
that's a big, a huge difference in my view with Perfect Day.
Yes, I agree with you. But the pricing is higher on Royal Caribbean. So taking that into account, and obviously everybody is different. I wish they included it. And even, have you gone to Half Moon Cay before? Okay. So at Half Moon Cay, your drink package is not included either. So I think they're just taking the same model that they've had for Half Moon Cay that I guess has been that way for so many years and nobody really talked about, but it has been that way. And they're taking the same model and they're bringing it over. So I agree with you. I wish that if you had a drink package on the ship, that it worked on the private island. I feel like that's an extension of the ship. And if I could tell them what to do, I would tell them to include it. But they're not going to listen to me. So,
well, I'm sure they listen to you, but hey, I'm on lag time today. I forgot this. I want to go back to when you were talking about Norway. You said you went on to Rotterdam. Tell me something good about Rotterdam. I'm being selfish right now because that's my next cruise.
One of my favorite ships.
Is on Rotterdam. You say one of your favorite ships? Good. Tell me more.
It is. I have a Holland America tip or a Holland America hack, depending on when your cruise is. So, okay, firstly, the ship itself is beautiful. It's I know you like Virgin Voyages, so the size of the ship is the same basically as Virgin Voyages, but in my opinion, the pool areas are significantly better on Holland America. You have one covered pool. So where is your cruise going to?
Panama Canal.
Okay. So in any case, it's a covered pool, but it's retractable, the roof. So, if you have nice weather, which you're going to have at Panama Canal usually, so it's going to be staying open. You have that pool, but you also have a pool at the back or the aft of the ship. And that is my favorite space to kind of hang out because you can go to the buffet and you can get food and bring it out to the back of the ship where you have that pool because there are actually tables to sit at. It's really relaxing. And while you're sailing, you can see the wake. And I don't know, for me, it's a very enjoyable space to be. Holland America, the service is really good. I love the crew on Holland America. You also have the Grand Dutch Cafe, which is in the atrium area, and they're similarly to like Royal Caribbean, the way they have Cafe Promenade and the snacks and foods are included, or on Celebrity, they have Cafe Al Baccio and the little sweet treats are included, or International Cafe on Princess. So the Grand Dutch Cafe, you'll have some savory snacks, you'll have some sweet snacks, and these include little Dutch treats, including these little mini pancakes and little croquettes. And so it's worth getting that. And of course, they do have some really nice coffee as well. That if you have the package, like if you have a drink package, then your specialty coffee is included in that. And otherwise, you can just pay for your coffee on your own. But so
Any other highlights of the past year or so?
yeah, we did Discovery Princess in June, late June, and actually over July 1st, so over Canada Day and over July 4th. So that was really nice to do our Alaska cruise with Princess on Discovery Princess. I loved that ship. That's one of my favorite classes of ships, and I really liked Discovery Princess. Princess does a great job with Alaska, so we were very pleased. Oh, we also did.
I know you like Princess.
I do. I like Princess.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going on my first Princess cruise. Actually, right after the Panama Canal, we're actually doing like a side to side.
Ooh,
So
fun.
well, it leaves a day later. So we're gonna get a hotel room for a day,
Perfect.
and then get on Star Princess.
Oh, good. So you're getting one of the early cruises on Star Princess. Very nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I had booked Sun Prince. Have you been on Sun yet?
I have. I have. I've been on Sun Princess twice now.
See, I had booked Sun Princess, and I kept not kept maybe once, maybe twice, but I kept postponing it because that area 19 or deck
Oh, yes,
19
yes,
or
yeah.
whatever it was going to be, they kept at first saying there were delays, but now it seems like they've scrapped it altogether. So I just canceled Sun, and so I'm just going to go on Star.
That makes sense. I think that the ships, I mean, I guess we'll see what Star is like. But Sun Princess, there's a lot that's good about Sun Princess. I think unfortunately that area, Park 19, I think it was called.
Park
Unfortunately, it
19,
didn't
yeah.
work out. We saw it in Europe when it was set up, but it wasn't like they were waiting for it to be certified or whatever. So who knows what the story is, but that's gone. But that being said, I don't feel like now that it is gone from the ship and, Star Princess is not going to have that. I'm sure they're going to make good use of that space. And Princess is such a good product. And the nice thing about Star Princess and Sun Princess is they have so many different restaurants and bars and eating areas, and the pools are a nice size, and the sun deck is a nice size. So it's a really good ship. So I think that Star Princess, it might be nice that it doesn't even start with expectations for that. Oh, and one of the things that I really loved on Sun Princess, so I'm sure that it'll be on Star Princess, or I think something similar, is I loved the entertainment. I thought the entertainment on Sun Princess, it's like Princess put their best, most energetic, most youthful entertainment on this ship. So, and I know my brother and his family were on Sun Princess just after New Year's, and they loved the ship. I think his words were that it was the very best ship that he's ever been on, and he didn't understand why it was so cheap. So he loved it. And he's done different cruises, more let's say, more child-orientated cruises, but his kids were 16 and 14, and he thought, well, you know what? They don't really need the water slides and all that stuff anymore, and everybody had a good time.
Well, let's talk about the future. What upcoming cruises do you have planned?
Okay, so one of the cruises we have is we are going to be doing Mexican Riviera. So that's going to come up in October. So, and that's going to be with Holland America. So we're looking forward to that. It's the first time that I'm doing that. Another one, I don't know if I've ever.
Which ship?
I think it might be on the Amsterdam. I always get mixed up with all of the Holland America ships because, it's all like, the like knew this, knew that. They get me mixed up, but I think it's the Amsterdam that we're on. So not a newer ship, but we're really excited to be back on Holland America. I just find their crew so good, and I always feel like very at home on Holland America. So we're excited for that. Another one we're doing is we've been lucky enough the last 3 years that we've done sort of a family cruise in January, or last year we did it in early February, but with both of our sons. So last year in February, we actually did, I don't know why I forget about this one sometimes, but it was so much fun. I guess it's because we really did it as more of a vacation. And even though I did share on social media and I did a couple of videos, we decided intentionally to work a little bit less on this ship. So I think it might be why. But we did Norwegian Encore. And even though it was not the newest Norwegian ship, we intentionally chose that cruise as a family cruise because my boys are in their 20s. And my son Julian at the time was bringing his girlfriend as well. And we wanted to make sure that they had a cruise that they would have fun at night. I didn't want anything where they might say that they were bored, not to say that other cruise lines are boring, but I just wanted to make sure that they could really, enjoy. And the fact that Norwegian has the more at sea, with the drinks included and some of the specialty dining. And that was really a lot of fun. But so this year we're actually going to be doing Star Princess.
Right. I'm going to ask you, I know I keep going back, but I tell you I'm on lag time.
No problem.
Did you do any specialty dining on Rotterdam?
Yes, I did. Okay. So if you like Asian food, Tamarind
Yep,
is
I've been there. I did that. I went on New Amsterdam earlier in the year.
Oh, okay. So yeah.
So we did. We had heard so much about tamarind, so we had to
Did
try
you like
it.
it?
Oh, we loved it.
Yeah,
we loved
me
it.
too. I think actually that as an Asian restaurant, I think it's the best Asian restaurant that we've ever eaten at, like that's on a cruise ship, because it's even hard to find on land, but it just and look, I'm not an expert, I'm not a food critic, but I know that we really enjoyed it. The other specialty restaurant that we did that was very good was the steakhouse. Oh, why it's evading me right now, the name of the steakhouse, but it was really good. And we also did Rudy's Sel de Mer, also excellent.
Really looking forward to Rudy Seldemer. I've had him on the show a couple of times.
Oh yeah. We like Rudy. Yeah. He's he really puts his heart into all of the not only the food, but into even his presence when you see him on the ship, and even with the crew in the kitchen and stuff, you can really see how passionate he is about what he does. So that is pretty special.
Yeah, and maybe we'll see, because he does something with Princess as well, right?
He is I don't know his title, but he is the culinary, he's I think it might be head of culinary for Princess. Like he's like the big food person at Princess. Now that's not the official title, big food person, but
big food person. Yeah. So we'll go to his restaurant on both the Rotterdam And then the one on print, he's got one on Star Princess as well.
Yeah, I guess it's the Catch by Rudy because that's what he has on the other ships. And yeah, I mean the restaurants on Star Princess are good. On Princess are good. They were really good on Sun Princess, so I assume they'll be really good on Star Princess too.
So what's remaining on your cruising and travel bucket list?
Okay, so speaking of, we touched on it earlier, Explora Journeys. Now, I do not have anything booked with Explora Journeys. But I am curious about it, and it doesn't have to be Explora Journeys, although I've heard good things. I am curious about smaller ship cruising. Now, that could be Azamara. I know Azamara, the ships are older, but I've heard very good things about the service and the food and the experience. So I am tempted by Azamara's itineraries. It might be Azamara, but it could be an Explorer Journeys, and it could be otherwise, one of the other upper premium or luxury ships. We'll see what comes of that. But that is in my that I think I would like to do because I think there is something to be said for the experience. So I'm very curious about that.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of experience, but I have been on Explorer Journeys, and my recommendation to you is do Explorer. It is the food is, oh my
Yes,
God, good.
I have
Um,
heard.
uh, I would just love to get back on Explorer Journeys. The problem is, I gotta like try other things, and I'm not one to repeat ships, but I got to get back on Explorer Journeys. I'll tell you, didn't
Yeah,
want
that's
to get
awesome.
off.
Yeah, we also try, I wouldn't say I never repeat ships, but I'm like you, right? I mean, first of all, this is part of what we do, but we only do it because we like it, right? So we want to experience new things, and get as much as we can from it and share it with other people, right? So I think that I'm the same as you in that way. Um, the other thing I should have mentioned it is MSC Yacht Club was an experience that we really liked. And even MSC, like I find there's a lot of good things about it as a cruise line, that's also like a value cruise line. I think there's a lot of value to it. But MSC Yacht Club, we really enjoyed that experience. And we were told that, like, to your point about the food, that Explora Journeys is, a significant level up from that. So that sounds nice,
Yeah, it's like the yacht club every day,
but better, I think.
but
Yes. Yeah.
but
Yeah. That makes sense.
elevated.
The
Yeah.
other thing that maybe I would be interested in doing is also maybe Windstar, also small. And then maybe like with the French Polynesia, just in terms of the destination. Um,
Yeah, they've got great
yes.
itineraries. I had Janet Baba
Uh-huh.
on from
Oh, wow.
WinStar, and she said they have an itinerary. It's like I can't remember her words, so I'll just make up my own words, but it's like a secret itinerary. So, in other words, when you board the ship, you don't know where you're going, and it sounded amazing,
I I don't know if I'd
amazing.
like that. It's funny. I don't
Yeah,
like
yeah, people.
surprises.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'd have to think about that, but the way she described it, it just sounded
Yeah.
amazing, and people are just thrilled because it is a very special itinerary they end up going on. You just don't know
Yeah.
what it
Yeah.
is.
I'm sure if they have those itineraries, they're not going to surprise you with a bad one. So that
Right, right, right. Alana, thank you so much for coming back on. But before we let you go, we have to finish with some light and even fun questions. And you are one of those who has been on. This is your third time
Woo!
on. I can count on one hand the people who have been on here three times. So I have to come up with some a new wrinkle to the questions
Uh-oh.
because you've been on so much. But let me, before I ask the questions, let me preface by saying welcome. to the Lifewell Cruise fans and Alana's friends listening, so that Alana, so that your fans and friends and my listeners can get to know you better. Let me ask a few questions. I ask repeat guests. So tell our listeners and your friends. Well, this first question I ask everyone. This is a softball question. How do you spend your me time?
Oh, I do this so much. I think people would be surprised. I'm oftentimes like on Canva at nighttime, like figuring out thumbnails. I'm a little bit obsessive. So to be honest, uh, other than cruising and I'm kind of boring. I think I watch Netflix a little bit here and there when I get into a show, but otherwise, Frank and I on the weekends will, go to dinner with friends, but and we see some family. But if it's the summertime, I definitely enjoy just being in my backyard and being at my pool and having my dog Abby with me. So I'm kind of boring.
Have you seen speaking of Netflix, have you seen the one about cruising? Was it What Happened to
I
Amy Bradley or
did. I
something
did.
like that?
It was very sad. Yeah, it bothered me, that video, that documentary. I remember the story at the time vaguely, vaguely, vaguely. But it actually I thought it's sad for the family and everything. Yeah.
Question two, what are you listening to right now in terms of music, podcasts, or audiobooks?
I'm not really listening to anything. I do. I am bad at these questions. I am actually. I just finished watching on Netflix Unknown Caller. If you did not watch this, you have to watch this. This is a crazy story, and there's a little bit of a twist in it, but it's a real story. It's a documentary, and it's crazy. So that's
Unknown color?
Unknown Caller or Unknown Texter, maybe it might be called. I think it's Unknown Caller, high school catfish story. Um, and a lot of people were talking about it, and I would see like it come up on like TikTok and stuff. And I was like, uh-oh, I don't want to have any spoilers, but I already kind of got an idea where this was going. And so then Frank and I watched it together. And yeah, and I like, wow. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. I don't know if I've been into listening to anything lately in particular. And no, I just haven't been. Sorry.
Okay. Are you a movie fan? Do you go to the movies?
No, I don't go to the movies either. I don't really.
Well, let's have a little fun, or it could be a little disaster. Uh, so, in a recent episode, totally unplanned, a guest turned the table on me and asked me a couple of rapid fire questions I wasn't expecting because that wasn't part of the plan. But it turned out to, that's why I say it could be a disaster, but it turned out to be actually kind of fun. So I decided to incorporate it for three-time guests like yourself. So when you're on the next time, and there will be a next time, I'm going to figure out what on earth am I going to do for the four-time guests. But anyway, so rapid fire style, ask away a couple of questions that you have for me.
Okay. What is something that you have done on a cruise before that you would never do again? And what is something that you enjoyed so much that you would gladly repeat and recommend to others?
That is a tough question,
Um,
Alana, because I'm one of those people who say, I have never had a bad cruise.
Well, then that is good. That is a good answer.
And I don't think I've ever had a bad experience on a
Okay.
cruise. I did have a bad feeling one time, but it wasn't the cruise ship's fault. I woke up at it was past 1 o'clock in the
Uh-huh.
morning, and I was on a cruise with my
Yeah.
grandkids. And so my granddaughter was in the room, but my grandson, we had let him go out, and we gave him a time to come back in. And I don't know what time we gave him, maybe 12. But I woke up and it was like 2 in the
Yes.
morning, and my grandson wasn't in the room.
Yeah.
And it was the absolute worst experience that I had had to that point, maybe in my
Yeah.
life. Because I mean, now he's a football
Right.
star, but at the time he's such a little
Yeah.
guy. And I felt like the wind could
I
blow
know.
him
You probably
overboard.
felt
I mean,
sick.
all, all kind of things were going through my head. So I got up and I walked the ship looking for him. And I did find him at the basketball
Oh,
court with a bunch of
at
guys.
least.
And yeah, so however, on that same
Uh-huh.
journey, this is really funny. So I'm going down steps. I'm going everywhere. I went in a stairwell. I was going down the stairs, and there was a little kid. He had to be three
Oh
years
my
old,
God.
and he just kept saying, "Daddy, Daddy." And I said to him, I said, "Where's your dad?" But he just kept saying, "Dad,"
Oh,
"Daddy, Daddy."
terrible.
And so I took him by the hand, and I found a security
Oh
person.
my,
And I said, I found this kid in the
at 2 in
stairwell.
the morning, a
And so,
3-year-old.
and he asked, he told me, well, let me have him and I'll take him to security. I said, oh no. I said, you call you call your colleagues and I'll hold his hand until they get up here. I wasn't going to give him to just one person I
No,
found,
no.
they needed to come. And so anyway, it was a happy ending. So they came and they got him. The next day on the deck where I think he was playing ping pong or pool or cornhole or something with his I assume with his
Yeah.
dad, and he remembered me, and I said, "Hey, you remember me?" And so I introduced him. I introduced myself to his dad, and so it was and I told him I'm the one who turned him over to security last night, and blah blah blah. So the dad claimed that he just let himself out of the room. Uh,
Okay. Well, you never know,
so
right? I mean, who's to
yeah,
judge? But wow,
yeah.
it's not something.
I mean, but he was a toddler, and it was a good thing though because when I found him and took him to the security guard, that's when I asked the security guard about my grandson, and the security guard told me there were a bunch of kids up at the basketball
That's
court. So that's where I went, and that's
yeah.
where I found my grandson.
I think it's something we don't talk about a lot of people, I think, but I think a lot of people, parents, grandparents, when you go on a cruise with, teens of some age group, that I think there's a lot of people who have at one point during their cruise woken up and the kids would normally be home at that time and home back and then they're not there and it's such an awful feeling. I should do a video about that, but it's terrible. But I've been there and I'm glad that your grandson was at the basketball court, which usually is, right? The kids are just somewhere innocently, they're having such a good time.
Happy ending, but it was a terrible, terrible feeling. So that didn't directly answer
That's
your
okay. That
question,
was a
but
great one. I love it. That was an unexpected answer. Yeah, and then something that you would recommend to other people. What has been I know you loved Emma and you loved your Explorer journeys, but what is another cruise travel experience that you think that you've enjoyed, but you think that you would recommend to others?
it's easy to have, or easier to have great experiences when you have kids with you.
On.
And I went skydiving with my on. They do that on some royal
Mm.
ships. They have a
Yeah,
skydive
very cool.
concession, and at the time my granddaughter was 8 years old. I couldn't let her go in that, and I not go in that.
Good
So I
for you.
did skydiving. Then when she was much older, we went on the roller coaster on uh, Carnival's XL class ships have a
Very nice.
roller coaster. So we went on the Mardi Gras, and oh, that was just so wonderful. Now, one thing I learned, I went on it, with my granddaughter, and I booked that ship
Oh,
especially
yeah.
for my grandkids. We had actually booked it And then the pandemic happened. And so obviously we had to put it off for a couple of years. But then when we went on it, my grandson had kind of aged out of cruising with us. You know, he was into football and couldn't miss practice. So I just took my granddaughter. But what I learned is you can control the speed. I'm not a roller coaster person, but I learned that, you know, the Carnival roller coaster wasn't anything like a real roller coaster. So that helped me get over that. But what I didn't realize is you can control the speed. And my daughter was doing the speed, and she was a speed demon. So,
oh my gosh, that's
but
funny.
that was a lot of fun. So the things I would recommend tend to be things I've done with kids. There's nothing like cruising with kids.
Okay.
I am reasonably certain, well, let's say I am hoping that you will agree to come back as a 4-time guest. But until then, all the best to you and your family. And as I like to say, we will see you on the ocean.
Thanks so much for having me. Bye, Paul.
The Joy of Cruising and Cruising Interrupted, each $16.99 plus shipping, and new release, The Joy of Cruising Again for $18.99 can be ordered at the link on thejoyofcruisingpodcast.com. For each of the 3 books, use the discount code Joy of Cruising Podcast and get $4 off. The Joy of Cruising books are also available at Amazon. Order the ebook at Amazon or your favorite online retailer. Stay in touch by joining the Joy of Cruising Podcast Facebook group or following the Joy of Cruising Podcast on Instagram. We're constantly adding new shows. Please leave a review and tell a friend about us. We hope you enjoyed this brief escape to the ocean. See you next week.